Yeah, the story was that Luis, and I always know that when he's angling for this, right? He's like, I don't feel good. I can't go to school today. Blah 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 blah. You know, and at this point, I'm like, okay, stay home, whatever, right? So I go to work, and at like 1:00, I get a phone call, and this is the phone call, by the way. This is pure Luis. If you break something, are you still able to move it? That's what he says. No intro or anything. And I said, what happened? Mm-hmm. And I was on my bike and I fell and I think I really hurt my knee. Well, what were you doing on your bike when you stayed home sick today? It was so nice. I had to go out. It was so beautiful. I had to get out. Did you have your helmet on? No. And so I said, just, go home, wash it off, put some ice on it. And half an hour later he calls and he's like, I think I have to go to urgent care. So we went to urgent care, but...
Yeah, walk it off.
Yeah, walk it up. Nothing broken, nothing, pulled or anything like that, but just a big gash. And
he has you and the helmet wouldn't have helped his knee any.
Right.
No, it wouldn't have helped his knee. However...
But you still have to be the mother.
Well, and also, what if he said he fell the way he did to protect his head, right? But what if it hadn't worked and he'd hit his head?
Right.
And so, while we're in urgent care, I was giving him sympathy and all that. But at one point I'm like, I'm just going to tell you now, I'm really mad at you because you didn't wear your helmet. And, we just went through this thing. I mean, it wasn't our personal tragedy. It's the kid's family, but his friend just was killed in a car accident. Right. And I'm just like,
right.
Whatever. So my head spun around. And
was there any aspect of karma? Did you ever approach that by pretending to be sick so you can't go to school and then your knee gets hurt?
Well, I didn't say it the way I said it to other people. Like to other people, I said karma. Right. Mm-hmm. To him, I just said, why were you on your bike since you were sick? Mm-hmm. That's the only thing I said because he knows. Like he said to me the other day, he always knows when I'm thinking that. He's like, are you going to tell me now that it was my fault? Not about that. It was about something else. I said, I don't have to. You obviously know the way I think now, and you can say it to yourself.
You could slap yourself. I don't have to.
Are these discussions that you have with him, or you too, BAYLIE, is it miles away from when you were a kid? I'm thinking about these quiet, objective discussions about why I am angry with you. When I was a kid, those didn't happen. Parents didn't talk to kids like that. There was no logic involved. It was just yelling and screaming.
Go to your room.
Yeah, exactly.
Those happen too. I mean, we have the yelling and screaming ones. Uh-huh. But, I don't ever really remember talking to my parents at any level.
Right. Yeah, I don't think I do either. And also, I mean, the dynamics were different too, because I had 3 older brothers in the early 60s who were going through all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I had a younger brother who was...
Were they hippies?
No, but they, did their drugs. And, I mean, they weren't...
Yeah.
They were druggies, yeah.
They were drugs.
And then my younger brother was 9 years younger than me, and my mother had him when she was 39. So she was completely absorbed with him. And my father was kind of, sitting in their room doing a crossword puzzle. So, yeah, I mean, I'd have conversations with my daughter that I've never, ever, ever had with my mother.
Yeah.
And just because they just didn't come up. And I wasn't really looking for it the way she might looked for it.
I might have been able to have, are we going to go down this rabbit hole of, psychologizing? Because that's...
Parenting, yeah.
That's what we're all about. Rabbit holes is what we're all about.
Well, up until a certain age, like in my 20s, I basically my father and I fought tooth and nail, and until I finally figured out, I'm like having the fights with him that my mother doesn't have, right? Like she couldn't do that. So I was the one who did it, right? Because he was, a typical Italian dude and, he's thought about things certain ways. And to my mind, most of the ways he thought about things were just not right, and so, and then finally it struck me like, I'm not mad at him. I'm done with this, And so if we hadn't had that dynamic, maybe I could have talked to him more. But like with my mom, you couldn't tell her anything because she would take it internally. Like you didn't get the support you needed. You got someone else who was just worried about it and fretting about it, And I learned not to really talk to her about anything.
She was internalizing it.
Yeah, and that's not what I needed.
Right.
Right. I needed a mom that was more like logical, and she was just, I mean, she still is very emotional, very like it's all there. And for me, that's not really what works well.
She was like Rita Moreno.
She was. Not only did she look like her, but she acted like her. I don't know what Rita Moreno's really like. But anyway, so I never, ever had those discussions with them. And the one time in my 20s when I did tell my mother something very personal, and I told her, don't tell Dad. And she immediately told my father.
And he came to you and addressed you?
He didn't. But I just knew he knew.
Right.
We were brought up, I guess, to talk about things like that. This kind of public school, rational, scientific, Judeo-Christian. You know what I'm saying? Probably not. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I read Dr. Spock, but I know that whole thing influenced a whole generation of people.
Right. Treating kids as adults, or at least not the way kids used to be. Kids used to be just baggage.
No, you're right.
Can they go to work yet?
Yeah.
Well, there's also there are the parents that spent too much time discussing. There's also that sort of slippery slope.
Right.
If you spend all this time, let's talk about it, and why'd you do this, and why'd you do that, and the kid's 5, the kid's going to, So there's definitely time to do that and an age to do that. You can't do it too early, otherwise you've established no boundaries, no discipline, none of that.
And it is somewhat a generational thing, because I feel like we were the generation in the middle of that, in the middle of the children should be seen and not heard, and everyone's a winner and everyone's valuable. You know what I mean? Like, we're in the middle. Like, I remember Luis was in a play group, and because I, came to motherhood late, all the moms were like, 20s and early 30s. And I remember like talking about something with them once, and there was one woman in particular who was just the stereotype of a mom like that, right? Like, who is like, you have to discuss it. And I remember saying, someone said to me, well, what'd you tell Luis? And I said, I wanted to say, because I said so, just like joking. And she's like, oh, you can't do that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, actually you can sometimes. And that's what I do sometimes. Right. It's really interesting, because I think you can go too far either way.
It's that line between, are you a parent or are you a friend?
Right.
Yes.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
It's a very tricky one.
And at Luis's charter school, which I did like. I liked it a lot. I felt like he got a good education there and it was a good community. But the teachers used to call all the kids friend. Like, a friend, are you supposed to be over there? And I was like, yeah.
Right. He has a name.
I don't want. Yeah. Well, he not only does he have a name, but like, I don't think of you as having a friend relationship with my son. It's like, you're the teacher.
It was kind of just, they were trying to address everyone the same way so that someone is not better or worse than the other.
Well, you're probably right about that. And I know that the reason they did that had all good intentions, Right. But that was like one of the things that I wasn't as fond of. But on the other hand, they really taught kids to appreciate other people and to be kind to other people, even if, the kid is not ever going to do that in his life or whatever. But they really made that part of the school culture, and that was cool. Like, I remember when I went to look at the schools, because there was the public school that he could have gone to, and there was this school. And I remember when I walked in, at every classroom, there was a kid, no matter how young, that said, welcome to our school. I was so impressed by that, because at the public school, they didn't do anything like that.
Right.
So, anyway.
That's sweet.
You encourage your kids to call you by your name. You haven't gone that far.
No.
That's that next step.
I don't know if that, that might, I feel like that maybe was a thing in the 70s. Was it?
Yeah.
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 Or in the 60s.
Well, I think it was later too. I think what you're talking about, the latest generation, I think there's some of that still.
A friend of mine, I know that she has like called up her kids' college professors, and I will never, ever do that. I mean, I gave up a lot of that after he was a sophomore in high school. Like, now I'm like, okay, excuse his tardiness or excuse his sickness, his absence. And that's about it, because I, wanted him to learn to do it on his own. And also, it's your responsibility now.
Yeah, we've been the same way with our kids. We've really taught them to advocate for themselves and I know it's really uncomfortable calling to order a pizza your first time, but you'll get there. It's fine. And, then you do all those little things, and then it comes time to maybe go get a job, and you have to talk to someone or fill in an application. And that stuff just builds up until, they're okay with it. And they're okay with calling when they don't agree with their credit card bill or whatever, because you've built in those little steps along the way. At least that's what we've tried to do. So, and hopefully it'll pan out. They'll be good adults.
That's a good way to do it. Yes.
Yes.
Is everybody recording?
Are you?
I am.
Yeah, I am. Go on.
I had a moment at 3 o'clock in the morning the other day. One of those, you wake up and how dismal the world is, how close you are to a full-on depression at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was thinking about my entire life, and this relates to this. I feel like I was clueless my entire life. I was struggling all the time to figure out, or not even to bother figuring out what was happening or where I was going or what would happen next. Looking back on it now, I think if I could start over again, knowing what I know now, that's a common thing. At every age, when I was 7, when I was 24, when I was 35, I feel like I didn't understand the world, Is that just because that's how I was, or is that how everybody is, and they pretend not to be? Or, I don't know. It was just a moment in the early morning when I thought I didn't have any sense of where I was going or even what was going on.
I had this conversation with a friend of mine literally last week who's about
Really?
your age, Walt, who she and her husband own this amazing home, that they've done so beautifully, like this big old Victorian, and she is just and she's always well decked out. She had a career. She's got 3 kids, although, her relationship with them isn't super great because of what happened with her first husband and stuff. But, she's really involved in the community and blah, blah, blah. And she said to me the other night, I feel like I haven't done anything with my life. I've had, no success with my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt so bad. But I relate. I mean, I do relate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's how you interpret success, too. I mean,
Yes.
Success, passing a bill in Congress. Is success learning how to ride a bike? Is it just raising your kids? I mean, it's different for everybody. So maybe she was looking at it from a different
Yeah.
It wasn't so much success I was thinking about as just where was my head throughout all those years. And I don't understand what happened. If I had had a better understanding of the world at that time, like BAYLIE, you're talking about teaching your kids to do stuff. Mm-hmm. I didn't have the depth or something. Yeah. I didn't have the perception to understand what I was doing or to have, I don't know. It was just a funny feeling I had. Like I never thought I understood the world I was living in.
Right.
I think it's really common for people to think in some way like that. I don't feel like my friends was super different from your feeling.
Did you always feel like you knew what decision to make, or even that there was a decision to make, or do you all feel like you stumbled through years and years?
Well, I think that you have to sort of stumble too. I mean, if you sat around and overanalyzed and planned things out so perfectly,
that never works.
What good is that? Yeah, that's not that much fun, So you go out and you make some bad decisions and you move on and you just, I think there's some sense of just kind of getting through too, just going from one thing.
So stumbling is the human condition.
Yeah, I think so. Don't you?
Yeah, I think in different ways. I feel like I stumbled until I was about 40 because I was just always thinking that I had to have a man, and I had to be married, and I had to be having kids and all this kind of stuff, right? And then when I finally realized what I really wanted, it was like, oh, okay. And then from that time on, believe me, and I'm in one of those right now. I'm in a very depressed state these days, right? But from then on, generally I've been quite happy, And it was when I dropped those things that I thought, I feel like I was stumbling because I was doing something that wasn't really true to what I really wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
You were trying to fit a mold that was not necessarily your mold. Yeah.
I was. And right now, just determining where to retire. or what to do with retirement, like I really want to do what I want to do, So.
Do you feel down in general because of the world? Does that affect you much?
Yeah, it does me, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll watch the news every night. Or Chuck likes to watch the news. I usually listen to it off and on during the day on the radio. But Jack will come and he'll be like, "Oh, God, do we have to watch the news?" And then he, turns around and leaves the room because for him it's awful. Everything about it is awful. And I try to tell him, you can't live with your head in the sand. You gotta listen to some of this because
come on, you're 17 now. You've got a role to play.
I know. But I think it's very hard to watch the news, to read, to listen to.
There's things I just turn off now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, self-preservation.
For my book club this week, we read this book called Weather. It's pretty recent. It was a very interesting, first of all, the way it was written was really interesting, but I won't talk about that, but it was very current, and she's worried about climate change, about Trump, about, her kids, about her addicted brother, and at the same time, it's quite funny, but by the end, at first it was like sort of light reading, but by the end, I was just like, holy fuck. It was just all this stuff that we are all worried about. The pandemic was in there too, I think. But
is it Weather WEATHER or WHETHER?
No, WEATHER. And it was really good. And she has another book called The Department of Speculation that maybe I want to read now because of this one.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I know, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I bet both of you would like Weather. It was, but it is like at the end, you're just like, oh my God.
But did you feel good, getting into all that, or yeah?
No.
So what? So, but you're suggesting that we want to read.
Oh, right.
Yeah, bring us down.
So we could feel like we want to walk out into traffic.
I thought it really was. Yeah. It had a unique way of expressing things. It was. And I thought maybe it was just going to go on for one chapter, but the whole book was like this. It was just like short paragraph after short paragraph on all in it. None of it was connected like within that page, but ultimately there was but it was really interesting. I don't know. I liked it a lot when I wasn't totally depressed by it.
Yeah. We're all walking around semi-depressed or trying to avoid the world.
I made the mistake last night of watching Midnight Cowboy. I had never seen that.
Oh, really?
Believe it or not, had never seen it.
Really?
And that one song, that one harmonica song, that is so sad. I remember the song, but I didn't connect it with the movie. Mm-hmm. And that song alone just made me cry. And when I got into bed that night, I kept thinking about that song and almost crying.
Then you dreamed and cried in your dream.
Practically. That's the state of my emotional health right now,
And then you turned on Ali Wong and watched her for a bit.
I need to.
Did you watch any of that, BAYLIE?
I did. I watched one of her specials with Rachel. We were in Boston. We were watching it together.
I think she's super short. Because did you see that movie, Always Be My Maybe, I think it was called?
Yeah, she's a little
short. No, I didn't see it.
It was cute, but like she was short walking next to Randall Park, and then I saw she had platforms like this high. I'm like, she must be 3 feet tall.
I commented on that. We were watching one of the specials, and she had the standard stool with the water on it next to her, and when she stood next to the stool, it was like at her shoulder.
She's tiny.
So this is on totally different tack, but I was on the way back from Boston. We had listened to a Dax Shepard podcast. Rachel loves them, and I was like, "Hey, you want to listen to another podcast?" So I pulled up our factoid one.
Oh,
and so we listened to it together, and she actually really liked it. I mean, she doesn't know you guys. And she thought it was really super entertaining. So she was, and I didn't even ask her what she thought about it. I just listened to her and we reacted together on some things. But it was fun and it generated a lot of conversation. So it was good. I was glad to listen to it with her.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's funny. My friend Joe in Connecticut, who I won't identify any farther, he just listened to that one. And he said it made him laugh out loud sometimes.
Oh, good.
That's
cool. He especially liked Kim Wasabi restaurant. Oh, BAYLIE just did a spit take.
I think you probably should give us his last name because I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all.
That's true.
I think you're trying to make yourself feel better about that horrible, horrible pun.
No, he actually said that.
Okay.
Out of nowhere.
All right.
You probably don't remember our last episode. We all said, thanks for listening to Charbroiled Chats at the same time. And then I said, it was okay, but it sounded like hard-boiled cats.
Like what?
Or was it someone else who said that?
Like hard-boiled cats? Did you say?
You don't remember that? Bailey, it was you that said it. I was trying to take credit.
Boiled
for it.
cats.
But you actually said that.
No.
I love that phrase, though.
Oh.
I'm sure you did.
Hard-boiled.
Oh no, I said I didn't say hard-boiled cats. I said
You said that was good, but it sounded like hard-boiled cats.
it doesn't sound.
And
Oh
Yeah, it must have been something else.
no, I must have been mumbling because I've never used that expression before.
Oh, I was thinking of cats actually boiling.
In a pot of water. I think what I said, Walt, was herd of cats.
Oh, herd of cats. Yeah, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
but
But hard-boiled cats is so much more evocative.
but then
But that's what you said.
but then Grace said, hard-boiled cats, I like that.
See, I don't remember that. I feel like that phrase is so funny to me that I would remember it, and I bet I just said herd of cats. I like that. And you just misheard it, Wally. That must be it.
And you just wanted to hear, he wanted to hear hard-boiled cats. you know?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to insert that part in here now.
Yeah. To prove it. That would be funny. And you've been listening to
Charbroiled
Charbroiled
Chats.
But does it sound like hard-boiled cats when we say it together?
Hard-boiled cats. Wow, I like that. Hard-boiled cats.
I think what I said, Walt, was herd of cats.
I'm going to have to insert that part in here now.
But does it sound like hard-boiled cats? Oh no, I said I didn't say hard-boiled cats. I said hard-boiled cats. Thank you for listening to Charbroiled Chats. Like, share, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next time. Oh no, I said no. It doesn't sound.
Like what?
No. I think what I said,
Hard-boiled.
oh no, I said
Like hard-boiled cats? Did you say?
no.